So we did a review too long ago. We really need to do it again, and I hope we do. But this is based on about 233 studies, and looking at that, we come up with an effect size of about 0.39, which is about equivalent to raising your 50th percentile students up to about the, I think, the 63rd percentile. Those of you who can integrate under the Gaussian distribution in your heads may choose to correct me on that, but that's what I remember. I think that's true. And then the interactive multimedia. This is stuff where you have pictures, animation, color, audio. That it's worth it. It turns out, if because you get up an effect size of 1.5, and that says you're raising again the students from the 50 percentile up to about the 69th percentile. And then there's some stuff with intelligent tutoring systems that raise it even more. So this is sort of a passage of time as we begin to tinker with new approaches in the use of computers in instruction. And I've written it up a bunch of times, but okay, this is the latest. Now, what I'm building up to here, most of these studies that I presented back here, particularly these studies here, are drill and practice. Drill and practice. Okay, and but we know how to do that. We know how to get learning. We know how to get really efficient at it, even optimal as opposed to maximal. And the difference between maximization and optimization is sort of captured by Orson Welles, who said that anybody can make a lot of money if that's all they want to do. And so that's an issue of maximization. Optimization says, well, there are other things in life that you want to attend to other than making money. And so that's optimization. So it's subject to some constraints. So, but we can optimize, subject to the constraints I showed you earlier. And what that means is that we really know how to do this stuff here, which is a matter of just teaching facts, simple procedures, simple concepts, and all we want is somebody to understand, remember, understand, and apply to some of this stuff. We do that really well. We've known how to do that really well. Why we use classroom time for doing that remains a mystery to me. Because you can do this by, when I mean do it really well, I mean do it using technology. And it works far better than classroom instruction. We ought to be doing that. We should not, that's a hard statement to make, and I'm sure there are other thoughts about that. But really, what we should be working on is stuff out here. We want students to analyze, evaluate. I would rather say synthesize. That's a little, anyways, it's getting a little, I guess it was Hobbes who was talking about that. But anyways, you really want students out in this area here. There are a couple of reasons for that. One is that they can transfer it to other stuff more quickly if they have it at a conceptual level than at a, remember, understand, and apply sort of rote level. Secondly, it turns out we don't forget concepts. We forget facts very quickly. But conceptual stuff, the higher, more abstract we get, the more likely we are to remember it for more time. And that turns out to be important to us, particularly in training, where if you don't remember something, planes can fall out of the sky and ships can run around and all that good stuff. Okay, so again, that's part of the sermon. We really ought to be doing this by computer, period. And then we really ought to be concentrating. I mean, we are learning how to create some of the stuff with computers, but we have a ways to go. Okay, and just to map instructional strategy, you've got drill and practice, tutorials, and simulations, games. And how am I doing? Yeah, okay. So that we have a progression going up this way. And Kurt von Lane has a very nice paper about tutorial strategies coming out sometime. He's had it okay, beyond drill and practice. Let me get beyond that and not get bogged down in some of this leadership. Okay, cognition and constructivism. Now, we've been talking about constructive notions as if they're brand new. Well, in the history of human events, maybe they are. Here's William James, who says, while part of what we perceive comes through our senses from the object before us, another part, and it may be the larger part, always comes out of our mind. That is to say that all perception, all learning, all memory is constructed. You construct it from things that are in your head. more than you do from the object before you, or from some sort of engram that's sitting there. Has a nice round ring. And so, and Melissa came around in 67 saying roughly the same thing. It's that seeing, hearing, and remembering are all acts of construction. Now that's based on a whole bunch of data. So it's not somebody just asserting this stuff. Even James has a little bit of data about this, but it's not just asserting that stuff. And then, so what are you going to do about it? And, well, there's this fellow named John Dewey who said that it's not a matter of pouring stuff in the student's head. It's more a matter of supplying the conditions which, yeah, I know, I'm being pedantic, will enable the psychical functions. Today, we would have said the cognitive functions, to mature and pass into higher functions in the freeze and flow time. That is to say, you're not pouring stuff into people's head, you're creating environments in which students learn. And that's the idea. So what are some examples of those environments? Now they say the constructivists, people are always complaining about the constructivists in education, saying that they don't have any data to support them. Well, I would claim that simulation is a very important aspect of constructive instruction, and it gives us authentic environments, like the Sanders trainer. Sanders teacher is what they call it. I'm told that that's Wilbur there. I can't really tell that. But anyways, that's what I'm told. So, but it is one or the other of it. It's either Wilbur or Wilbur. And there he is. And that's a trainer. That's not the airplane. That's a trainer. And of course, we've advanced. And now we have this sort of stuff where we can just put in all the fidelity that we want to, out the window. So this is a simulation out here of the world. This is not, something that they photographed or anything like this. And this is the interior of a simulated cockpit. Works well, teaches well, saves a lot of money, and I got this third and 3-star. Wants me to tell them all about it by the end of today. So I got that problem too. So I have to leave right after this. That's another. All right. You get 3 stars. You think you walk on water. Anyways, the issue here is that all this is great, but it costs something. The fidelity, the realism don't come free. So that's one of the problems that we have. We have great studies about how are we going to select the fidelity. So we have to select the fidelity based on educational and instructional objectives. And that's great. The problem with simulations is that you build them and they come. And the problem is when they come, they have a whole bunch of different ideas about how to use the simulation, reaching instructional objectives that you have no idea and you're going to put them in the first place. So it's a very interesting problem and one that I certainly don't have solved, and I don't know what I'm going to say to the guy. Training for an incredibly complex task. Now this is sonar operation. Now, operating sonar is not just a matter of being Jonesy and hearing things that sound like Brahms Fifth in your ears. It's also being able to understand convection currents in the ocean, knowing the difference between a whale and a submarine, knowing about the bottom and the consistency of the bottom, temperatures all around the world. I mean, you can hear almost halfway around the world with our sonar equipment these days. So it's a very, very difficult task. And we are training 19-year-olds out of high school, and as a matter of fact, some of them who are high school dropouts to do this. So it's a real trick. So this is the IMAP display, and it's something. It's the interactive multi-sensor analysis training. I just want to show that this stuff works, and you get a lot of good stuff here. You find that the graduates were equivalent to fleet personnel with skills of 3 to 10 years of experience. Most interesting is this: if you want to build a better sonar system that will increase your ability to sense other things. It costs you $100 million to achieve 1 decibel improvement. Now it's on an exponential scale, so that's a sizable improvement. But that's how much it costs. We're going to build it, and this is based on the estimates of our contracting. Our contractors who may have slightly overestimated that, but all right, let's take what they say for sure. And so they say it's going to. So what IMAP training did is produce a 10 decibel improvement in sensing submarines. Now, that would have been 1 billion. That's what it'd be to do it if you're just going to make better hardware for it. So here's an example where a $20 million, custom $20 million to put together this system and test it, evaluate it, and get it working right. $20 million, but you get that, and you get the same gain if you had put in $1 billion. It's an argument for the value of, well, okay, training. Now we'll use the T word and we'll go on. But this stuff does work, which is the point. So let's go back. Are individualized digital tutors effective? Now, you've seen this stuff before. This is the stuff, I think. So recently we've got this thing that is teaching the IT rating in the Navy. This is information technologist, information systems technologist is the full term. Now, this is the rating where, if the network goes down and the admiral's unhappy, you got a problem. Also, if the network goes down, your ship might as well be dead in the water. You can still drive it around, but there's just nothing you can do with it. It's a serious problem. And there have been issues where the ITs haven't made adequate backups. It's taken 2 extra months of submarines sitting in port while they get everything back to shape. And if you work the numbers on that, it comes out to something like $1 billion, just down the drain. And of course, if the submarine is supposed to be out there protecting the carrier, then it could be even more. So so it's an important matter for the Navy, and there are a few other there are other jobs around that are like that. So here we are. This is a recent tutoring system based on 3 studies. The average, the comparison between this digital tutor for IT, instructional technology, and what was going on before. And what was going on before was computer-based instruction. It was just, not very good computer-based instruction. You get an effect size of about 3.28. Now, that's just off the chart. That's way, way beyond anything. Now remember, Bloom's challenge, back at the beginning, was 2 standard deviations. He said, this is a challenge, we should all be reaching 2 standard deviations. Well, okay, here we are, an average of 3.28. There was one, one observation, comparison, was a standard deviation of 4.85. So it's just, these are astronomical big differences that you can get through the use of developing good digital tutors. So you may want to know what a good digital tutor looks like. Basically, it's got parts like the model of the learner, an object model learner, where you want the learner to go. We'll tell you where we are now, where we want to go. And when you've got that laid down, then the trick is how do you get from here to there? What are the instructional strategies?